Mataconda77 very generously gave me a year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Braids versus Azor, Purphoros and Teysa Karlov. Always starting with a one-lander recently, and with that mulligan into a three-lander that's not particularly good, to be honest. We can get out of turn 3 Braids and start sacrificing lands. If our opponent does anything to Braids, then we can reanimate it, assuming it doesn't get exiled by the 2 white players, which is fairly likely. Yeah, we'll try this one. Draw into a Toxic Deluge, so that bodes well for us when we're wanting to make the game last a little bit longer so that we can actually start drawing into stuff. Weathered Wayfarer for Teysa. Turn 1 Soul Ring for Purphoros, so could see that as soon as turn 2. A Full Metal Torque as well. Full Metal. A Liquid Metal Torque. Guess what my favourite anime is? Eye of Vecna for the Azorius player. And that's a Crypt Gas, so if we can get into another land, it's not the worst. We will, just have to drop a land and pass. Okay, the Teysa Karlov player dropping a land before the Weathered Wayfarer. They should, unless they've got a play here, they should have activated the Weathered Wayfarer and then dropped the land, and that would have ramped them ahead a little bit, but looks like they've made a mistake there. Keep for Purphoros, and down comes the commander. The Azorius player just holding up double blue mana. And we get into some reanimation in Dance of the Dead, so maybe we just go for our commander here and try and draw into some stuff. And that is allowed into play, so we'll have to sacrifice a land here, unfortunately. And none of my opponents decide to sacrifice lands, as you would assume, so still not getting into any ramp, unfortunately. I'll have to discard 3 lands here, or 3 cards from hand. Get rid of the Massacre Worm, which we can reanimate next turn. Rise of the Dark Realms we're nowhere close to. Get rid of the Lolth as well. Once again playing a land before activating the Weathered Wayfarer, so they obviously wanted the Fleshbag Marauder just to get rid of the Braids there, it seems. So it looks like Reanimate's going on Braids next turn. Now time to see how much damage Purphoros is going to do. Doubling up the damage with an Impact Tremors, then a Prismatic Lens. 3 cards in hand. Not seeing any creatures being played into the Purphoros yet. Seeing the first creatures, so Dragon Fodder going to come into play and deal 6 damage to all of us. Bident of Thassa from the Azorius player. Alright, getting into a swamp, so we're obviously behind a land on swamps. So I think we can go for Dance of the Dead onto the Braids, get that out of the command zone. And then let's go for Massacre Worm. We can take 6 damage to that, and we'll start dealing some damage to our opponents, hopefully. So killing off 3 creatures, that is a total of 6 life lost between all of our opponents. And yeah, now that I think about it, I don't think we're even going to keep the Massacre Worm in play, are we? So let's sacrifice it, take advantage, and try and draw into some relevant stuff. Alright. Yeah, just lands. Let's discard another land. I mean, I'm glad that I cleared 3 lands off the top if we're not going to be able to get into anything relevant. Chromatic Lantern for Teysa. A Sulfuric Vortex from our opponents, so not sure there's many means of gaining life in this deck, but certainly not going to be able to whilst this is in play. Then Keep going to trigger, and that is going to make a Kobold token, which will be 3 damage to all of us. And we're all at 25, strangely. Future Sight, the Azorius player just continuing to limp along. Future Sight reveals a Preordain on top there. Not going to bother untapping the Braids. Yeah. Actually just realising now that I should have planned out the turn a lot better previously. Get out the Urborg before I start forgetting things because I'm talking. Yeah, I really should have got out the Massacre Worm tapped if I wasn't going to swing in with it. When I reanimated it and took the 6 life, I was actually planning on starting to attack him with it, but yeah, could have had an untapped Braids here. Let's throw out a Crypt Ghast and we can start tapping our swamps for an additional mana next turn, hopefully. Might get us back into this. Not going to bother sacrificing anything. Seeing a Grave Pact from the Azorius player, unfortunately, so that's going to be really rough if they start getting creatures down. Holding up Ores of Mana with the Chromatic Lantern as well. Krenko's Command, so another 6 damage to all of us. Effectively the same card as Dragon Fodder. Make a couple of Goblin tokens. Keep being activated again, so 3 more damage. another Kobold token into play. The Azorius player going to be drawing into the Preordained this turn, and then revealing a Sage of Epitia. So playing that straight off the top. Don't think they've dropped a land yet, so they've got a land available to them. Reorganising the top 4 cards though. Throwing a Wall of Omens on top, so that will cantrip when they play it. And they do play that off the top, so they're going to play a Revoke Existence potentially on the Purphoros this turn. And then there is the Plains again, which they can still play off the top. So getting a lot of cards down thanks to the Future Sight here. Playing the Plains and revealing another one. Okay, the Revoke Existence actually went onto the Sulfuric Vortex, so wanting to gain life over here maybe. It is a white deck. They play the Preordain, scry 2 and draw. Now we see a Banishing Light on top of their library. I think we can untap with the Braids here, because we do have our double mana available to us this turn. Speaking of which, there's an extra planar lens. Let's play the Blood Artist. We can sacrifice that to the Braids this turn. Not going to go with the Extort, because I think we can go extra planar lens and the Yawgmoth this turn. Maybe should have gone extra planar lens first, actually. Managed to lose 2 lands in this game, because I had to draw previously. Obviously exiling one of our tapped basics, and then that should tap down for 3. Yes it does, so now we can go Yawgmoth and Physician. And now let's swing in at the Purphoros player with our commander. I was going to sacrifice the Blood Artist to... I was going to sacrifice Blood Artist to the Braids, but now we can actually gain life, so I'm actually going to sacrifice the Dance of the Dead here, and we can just replay our Braids next turn. It'll be 5 mana, hopefully we can keep the Cryptghast in play. Not managing to get rid of our opponent's Grave Pact, unfortunately. Didn't manage to get rid of any enchantments there, so drawing into Malakir Rebirth, a little bit too late. Ancient Tomb is not too bad with an Urborg in play, and Rite of Bells unlock. We will put our commander back in the command zone. Blood Artist definitely pointed at our opponent. We did lose our commander there, so that's obviously triggered. Expedition map, and there is an Urborg in place, so they could go for Cabal Coffers there. That's exactly what they go for, dropping a Cabal Coffers most likely this turn. They do, so making 6 black mana with that, and they do have a white available to them. That is a Plague Crafter, so I think it has to be, as annoying as it is to get rid of Yawgmoth, I think it has to be here unfortunately, because Blood Artist might keep us in this. I really don't want to get rid of Yawgmoth, but yeah, gonna have to. Blood Artist triggers a bunch of times. So trigger the Blood Artist. We obviously have a Grave Pact to worry about here as well, so gonna have to let go of the Blood Artist. But the longer we can keep it in play, the more life we can gain, obviously. Back up to 19 is more comfortable, and we're going to send the Purphoros down a bit more here. So 3 more triggers on the stack, all of which going at Purphoros. And then with the 4 mana floating, they got down their commander. Descent of Dragons being cast by Purphoros, and yeah, managing to get rid of our Cryptghast. Unfortunately had to discard the Rise of the Dark Realms, hasn't been the best of games for us. Getting rid of the commander, and then putting some Grave Pact triggers on the stack as well, because that must be Destroy. Yeah, it is Destroy, so no one keeps the dragons anyway, not that Purphoros cares. So both of my opponents down to 6 and 4 for the Azorius player. Mystic Sanctuary on top of the library. They do have 3 or more islands. Couldn't really get anything relevant with that. Preordained could be pretty good for them actually, now that they've got Future Sight in play. An island is on top of their library, could see the back of that with Scry. Actually putting Revoke Existence on top, so now wanting to go for the Purphoros. Yeah, probably should have gone for the Purphoros over the Sulfuric Vortex in the first place, although them getting rid of Sulfuric Vortex really helped us out with the Blood Artist. We'd be in the exact same predicament that these two are in if it wasn't for that play. So playing Revoke Existence onto the Purphoros, we'll exile it. Obviously that goes back into the command zone. And now we see why they got rid of the enchantment. That is a Baneslayer Angel, so if they can manage to swing in with that just once, might keep them in the game. Another land for us in Verdant Catacombs. We'll just play the Swamp here. I think we're going for our commander and Bells Unlock. Luckily still have some ramp available to us. Can't hold up the Malakir Rebirth unfortunately, but yeah, hopefully we'll leave our commander in play. Now the question is, do we want to sacrifice a token here? Even if we get them to sacrifice the dragon token, which I doubt they will, we can just sacrifice a cleric token. Yeah, so I think we do this, because we've got a lot of lands in hand. Alright, surprisingly did get them to sacrifice the dragon, so that means the Baneslayer Angel's going down here. They've already gone down to 2, because they didn't want to sacrifice anything. So we have to sacrifice that cleric. We are drawing, yeah, that's 2 cards there, thanks to the Teysa sacrificing something. Getting to a Dictate of Erebos, they will bounce off each other, both the Dictate and the Grave Pact will bounce off each other forever. A prized statue is really good to sack to the Braids. So we just await our cleric tokens next turn. Cruel Tutor. Cruel Tutor puts the card on top of their library, so I'm not sure if they've got a means of card draw here. Tapping for 6 mana, Cabal Coffers again. We've got 2 cards available to them, they're at 4 life. And they just play out their Teysa Karlov again. So if we see 4 creatures come down from Purphoros, they can still get 2 of our opponents here thanks to Impact Tremors. A Braid going on to our extra planar lens, so that reduces our mana quite a lot. I'm not sure if it's going to matter, as long as we can keep the Braids in play, which is a big if, then we might still be able to do something. Purphoros back into play, so yeah, it could be a race between ourselves and the Purphoros. Azor will draw into an island this turn. Yeah, not having the best of luck here, just having a bunch of basics on top. A Plains is available to them now. Now playing Azor the Lawbringer. I think they played a Plains off the top there and revealing... Yeah, if they played that Plains off the top and revealing another island, then yeah, their bad luck is really, really bad here. Getting some more cleric tokens. Let's get down at prized statue here. I think we've just drawn into another board wipe, unfortunately. The statue going to make us a treasure token, which we'll try not to use just yet. Let's drop Ancient Tomb, and that way we can hold up the Dictate of Erebos if we want to. Swing in at the Purphoros player for sure. Have to imagine that Teysa is going to want to do that as well. Might actually aim for the demon from the Bells Unlock next turn, because yeah, the turn after we can start swinging in a 6/6 at Purphoros and hopefully get rid of them. Still managed to stay at 16 life. So with Braids on the stack, we will sacrifice the prized statue. Might be able to get this player. They'll probably sacrifice the Eye of Vecna, I would think, because it's pretty useless to them. But I imagine we'll draw some cards from this. Not to mention the fact that we do get a treasure token from sacrificing it. Alright, seeing them sacrifice the Chromatic Lantern, surprised to see that go down, but I mean they do have Cabal Coffers. So we only draw into a Feed the Swarm, which could be relevant. We could get rid of this thing. Take 2 life to it regardless. So we've got a fistful of interaction here. Teysa Karlov from the Teysa player. One of my favourite commanders that no one likes watching. Okay, the Azor player has just been contemplating what to do here and has tapped down mana a bunch of times, and then is just letting this 4 floating black mana from the Cabal Coffers go, so yeah, not sure if they miscounted or they just changed their mind about what they could cast there. And okay, Teysa Karlov swinging in towards us amazingly. We'll just take the damage, I think. Okay, our opponent's saying that he wants to cast Buy or Silence. Exile an on-land permanent. I don't know that card, so I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't let him cast that. Yeah, it's just a... I'm just looking on Scryfall now. It's a 5 mana sorcery, mono white. Exile an on-land permanent. Its controller makes a treasure. Don't see why he wouldn't have been able to cast that. Now, how much damage can Purphoros do? 2 cards in hand here. Well, one of the cards is a Felwar Stone. Not too worried about that. And just leaving 1 card in hand there. A Disenchant is on top of the Azorius player's hand, or library. It's effectively in their hand because they can play it. I was going to say that we could go for Feed the Swarm onto the Grave Pact, and then before the end of this turn get down the Dictate of Erebos, do Feed the Swarm next turn, and then Toxic Deluge for 1, get rid of a couple of our clerics, and force our opponent to sacrifice Teysas and this thing, and then we can swing in this direction. But I don't feel as though that's going to be possible now that they've got Disenchant available to them. And just at the beginning of combat, the Azor player scoops. That is the type of decision that could change the course of the game here, so Yeah, really, really not good play by Hades Lord there.
Someone just scooped. Like a big Nancy boy.
Nancy boy. Yeah, that's... Oh, there we go. Then that player has as well.
Oh my god.
Jesus. Yep, there you go. You've come in from work at just the right time. What a pair of knobbers.
Witness a big shower of shites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. You
There we
are
go.
patient doing that.
Well, that was actually a terrible game for me in the beginning, but then it kind of got good in the end where it could have gone in any direction. This is the last player that should have played it out, and they have done.
Wow.
And now, yeah, and now this is gonna happen, so yeah, anyway.
And like I always say, I don't even know the game, but you know it can turn on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
Right, bye.
Bye. The saving grace being that they kind of have to tap out into this. They could hold up some blue counter magic potentially. They're gonna draw a card thanks to the Bident of Thassa as well, don't forget. But yeah, that's really not good play by our opponents there, because like I said, that can totally and has totally changed the course of this game. A Mandara or Mangara on top of our opponent's library. Okay, and then this player scoops it up as well. So, didn't like any of the cards that they drew into apparently. We can't get them next turn. And I'm guessing that they didn't have any counter magic. Yeah, I'm not sure how they think we're just automatically going to win here. We get out a demon next turn. They can chump block it with this if they want to all day long. They don't know about the Dictate of Erebos. If they scoop to this, then fair enough. Because that would be a difficult one for them to deal with, although they have a Disenchant in hand, so... Yeah, I mean, that's Magic Online for you. I really don't understand why people play like that. There's just way too many variables, and you never know what your other opponents are going to do. I could do something to another player that would help the other two players out, and... yeah, kind of help keep them in the game inadvertently. But there we are, we managed to win this one. Not that it feels like much of a victory, it's a bit hollow. Hopefully you all enjoyed it regardless. I will keep trying to get Braids videos if you watch this one and give it thumbs up and the views are decent. If not, then hopefully you look forward to the next Commander. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.